Hello, everyone. Welcome to English Insights. Today, we sail back in time. Imagine a world long, long ago, with no airplanes or fast roads. How did people connect with lands far away? Our story is about a special group of people called the Phoenicians. They lived next to the Big Blue Sea. They were brave sailors and very smart traders. They built amazing ships and traveled to many distant lands, connecting different parts of the old world. This video will bring you the exciting story of the Phoenicians, who they were, how they sailed the seas, and what special goods they shared across ancient lands. If you like learning about old times and new discoveries, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe to our channel. Now, let's get started. Chapter 1. Who were the Phoenicians? Our story about the Phoenicians starts in a special place. They lived a very long time ago. This was about 3,500 years ago, or even more. They lived in a small land next to the Big Blue Mediterranean Sea. Today, this land is mostly the country called Lebanon, and some parts of Syria and Israel. The Phoenicians lived on a narrow strip of land. Imagine a long, thin piece of land between high mountains and the sea. This land was not very big. It did not have many wide fields for farming. So, the Phoenicians looked to the sea. The sea was their neighbor, their friend, and their way to live. They were not a big empire like Egypt or Rome. They did not have a very large army to conquer other lands. Instead, they were city-states. This means they had many strong, independent cities along the coast. Some famous cities were Tyre, Sidon, and Byblos. Each city was like its own small country, but they all shared the same culture and spoke the same language. The name Phoenician came from another old group of people, the Greeks. The Greeks called them Phoinikes. This word meant purple people. Why purple people? Because the Phoenicians were very, very good at making a special purple color. This purple color was very bright and beautiful. It came from a small sea snail. It was very hard to make, so only rich people or kings could buy clothes with this purple color. It was a very famous product they sold. The Phoenicians were also very skilled workers. They were great at working with wood. Their land had many tall, strong cedar trees in the mountains. These trees were perfect for building. The Phoenicians used this wood to build strong houses and, most importantly, amazing ships. They were known as master builders of ships. The sea was truly their life. They did not just fish in the sea for food. They saw the sea as a big road. A road that could take them to new places. A road that could help them buy and sell things. They learned everything about the sea, the winds, the waves, and the stars in the night sky. They used this knowledge to travel far. They were brave people who were not afraid of the big, open sea. They understood that their future was on the water, not just on their small piece of land. This made them special in the ancient world. Chapter 2. Amazing Ships and Brave Sailors. The Phoenicians were very famous for their amazing ships. They built them from the strong, good-smelling cedar wood from their tall mountains. This wood was perfect for ships because it was light, but also very strong. It did not get bad easily in water. They knew how to make ships that could sail very well on the big sea. Their building skills were very good for their time. They built different kinds of ships for different needs. They had trade ships. These ships were big and wide. They could carry many heavy goods. For example, they carried large pieces of wood, big jars of olive oil, and rolls of purple cloth. They also had warships. These ships were long and fast. They had many strong men rowing inside. Warships were used to protect the slower trade ships. They kept them safe from bad people or other groups on the sea who might try to steal their valuable goods. The Phoenicians were brave sailors. They did not just stay near their homes or close to the land. They sailed far, far away. They went to new places that no one else dared to visit. During the day, they used the sun to guide their way. At night, when the sun was gone, they looked at the stars. The North Star was very important. It stayed in the same place in the sky. This helped them find their way safely across the dark, open waters. This was very smart because most other sailors at that time were afraid to go far from land or sail at night. Their sailing skills were truly special. No one else was as good. They knew much about the sea. They knew where the winds blew. They knew how the big waves moved. They were among the first people to sail on the open sea. They sailed out of sight of land for many days and nights. They were not afraid of the deep, blue water or the dangers it held. They were true explorers. They found new sea paths. The main reason they sailed so much was not just for fun or adventure. It was for trade. They wanted to find new things to buy and sell. This would make their cities rich. They sailed to many different lands all around the Mediterranean Sea. They visited old places like Egypt, Greece, Italy, and even faraway Spain and parts of North Africa. They wanted to find valuable goods. They would bring these goods back home or sell them to other places for a good profit. So, the Phoenicians were not just people who lived by the sea. They were the absolute masters of the sea. Their strong, well-built ships and their brave, smart hearts helped them travel farther than almost anyone else in their time. They opened new paths on the water. They made a wide web of connections. This brought many different lands and peoples in the ancient world closer together. Their sea trips were very important for old ways of talking and doing business. Chapter 3. What did they trade? The Phoenicians were famous because they were very good at trading. Trading means buying things and then selling them, often in different places, to make money. They traveled far on their ships to find special goods from other lands. They also sold their own unique products that no one else could make so well. Their ships were like floating shops, always full of valuable goods. They traded many different things. Their ships always carried important goods. Here are some of the most important things they bought and sold. Cedar wood. This was a very important product from their home mountains. As we learned, tall, strong cedar trees grew on their land. This wood smelled good. It was very good for building strong ships, large temples, and sturdy houses. It lasted a long time and did not get eaten by insects. Other lands like Egypt greatly needed this good wood. They did not have much of it. So, the Phoenicians cut the wood, made it ready, and put it on their ships to sell across the sea. Tyrian purple dye. This was a truly special and famous color. It was a bright, beautiful purple. The color was very deep and did not get lighter easily. The Phoenicians made it from small sea snails found near their city of Tyre. It took many, many thousands of these tiny snails to make just a little bit of dye. This made the process very long and hard, so this purple color was very, very expensive. Only kings, queens, or very rich people could buy clothes dyed with this precious color. It was a clear sign of wealth and power. The Phoenicians sold this special purple dye to important people and rulers all around the Mediterranean Sea. This was their most important product. Glass. The Phoenicians were also very skilled at making beautiful glass objects. They knew how to make clear glass and brightly colored glass. They used sand and heat in special ovens. They made small, nice bottles for perfumes, useful cups, shiny beads for jewelry, and other pretty things from glass. These glass items were very beautiful and carefully made. People in other countries wanted them because of their beauty and unique colors. They were among the first people to make glass so well. Metals. They did not have many valuable metals in their own land. So, they bravely sailed to faraway places like Spain and even as far as England. They went there to get important metals such as tin, shiny silver, and useful copper. They bought these raw metals from the mines. Then they brought them back to their home cities. Sometimes they shaped these metals into tools, beautiful jewelry, or strong weapons. Then they traded these finished metal goods again for more money. They connected distant mines to ancient markets. Besides these big and famous items, they also traded other goods. These included olive oil, tasty wine, and small, finely made pieces of jewelry. They were not just sellers. They were also very smart buyers. They bought goods from one land where they were cheap. Then they sailed to another land where those goods were valuable. They would sell them there for a higher price. This made them very rich. It helped them connect many different markets and economies across the ancient world. They truly understood how to do business. Chapter 4. Connecting the Ancient World. The Phoenicians were not just simple traders. They were like living bridges of the ancient world. They used the sea, which was their most important way of life, to connect many different lands that were very far apart. They created very important sea routes across the entire Mediterranean Sea. These routes were like long, well-used roads on the water. Their ships followed these paths, guiding them from one port to another. This made a strong network for trade. They built their own large and busy trade cities along the coast of their homeland. Famous ones were Tyre, Sidon, and Byblos. These cities were like huge shopping centers and busy ports of the ancient world. They attracted traders from all over. Ships came and went all the time. They brought goods from distant lands. They took Phoenician products to new markets. These cities grew rich and strong because of all the trade. Money and goods moved through them every day. But the Phoenicians did not just stay in their home cities. They also bravely sailed further. They built small settlements or colonies in faraway places. Imagine a small port city that they started far from their home. These were sometimes on islands or distant coasts. These colonies were like special rest stops for their ships. For example, they built a very famous and powerful city called Carthage in North Africa. They also set up places in Spain and on many islands like Sicily and Cyprus. These stops helped their ships rest, get fresh water and food, and trade goods with local people. This made their trade network bigger and stronger across the entire Mediterranean area. When the Phoenicians sailed to new places, they did not just carry things to sell. They also carried ideas. They shared stories from their home and from other places they visited. They showed new ways of doing things. They shared parts of their culture with the people they met. For example, when they went to Greece, they showed the Greeks new ways to sail. They also showed them new ways to make purple dye. And they brought different goods that the Greeks had never seen before. They were like important messengers of the sea. They spread knowledge, skills, and cultural ideas. Because of the Phoenicians' constant travel and trade, different old cultures started to learn about each other much more easily. People in ancient Egypt could get strong cedar wood from faraway lands they could not reach themselves. People in Greece could buy special purple cloth or beautiful glass beads. The Phoenicians helped these big ancient cultures connect and share more things. This included new ways of working and art styles. They helped knowledge and new fashions move from one land to another. This made many societies richer. It also set the stage for how people would talk and work together in the future. So, the Phoenicians were not just people who sold things. They were big helpers in ancient times. They truly shaped the ancient world. They made the world feel a little smaller and more connected. They helped by making travel times shorter. They brought people, valuable goods, and important ideas together. This helped cultures grow, learn from each other, and change. Their ships truly connected the ancient world. They made a big web of trade and talking. This built important foundations for future great civilizations and how people would interact all over the world. Chapter 5. Their Greatest Gift. The Alphabet. The Phoenicians were very good at trading, and they were masters of the sea. But they also gave the world a very special and important gift. Perhaps it was their most lasting and helpful gift. This gift was the alphabet. It changed how people would learn and share information forever. To understand why this was such a great gift, think about writing a very long time ago. People used very many difficult pictures or very complex signs to write words. For example, in ancient Egypt, they used hieroglyphs. These were thousands of small detailed pictures. Each picture could mean a whole word, an idea, or a specific sound. It took many, many years of hard study to learn how to read and write them well. Only a few special people, like priests or scribes, could do it. This made knowledge hard to share with everyone. But the Phoenicians traded a lot. They were busy all the time. They bought many different things and sold them in many different places. They needed to keep good track of everything they did. They needed a simple and fast way to write down what they bought and what they sold. They needed to write names, numbers, and lists of goods quickly and easily. The old ways of writing were just too slow, too complicated, and too hard for busy traders to use every day in their business. So the Phoenicians, because they needed it for their trade, made a new way to write. It was an alphabet. What is truly special about an alphabet? It uses only a few simple signs or letters. Instead of a picture for every word or idea, each letter stands for a single basic sound. The Phoenician alphabet had about 22 letters. These letters mostly represented consonant sounds. This was very, very easy to learn and use. It was much easier than the thousands of pictures or complex signs used by other cultures. This made it much easier for many people to learn. Because it was so simple, many more people could learn to read and write quickly. It was not just for a few powerful scribes or kings anymore. This helped many traders, merchants, and even everyday people. They could write notes, keep records of their sales, send messages to their business friends, and manage their shops. It made business and talking much easier and faster for everyone involved in trade. When the Phoenicians traveled far for trade, they also took their alphabet with them. They spread it like a good seed. They sailed to Greece, to Italy, to North Africa, and to other lands around the Mediterranean Sea. The people in these lands saw the Phoenician alphabet. They liked it very much because it was so practical and easy to use for their own languages. So, they started to use it too. They changed it a little to fit their own unique sounds and writing needs. Over time, other important groups of people took the Phoenician alphabet and changed it a little more. The Greeks, for example, added some new letters for vowel sounds, like A, E, I, O, U. This made it even more complete. The Romans then took the Greek alphabet and changed it again to create their own Latin alphabet. And this Roman, Latin alphabet is the one we use today for English. Every single time you read a book, write a message on your phone, or type on a computer in English, you are using a great gift that started with the clever Phoenicians thousands of years ago. It fundamentally changed how humans talked, wrote down information, and kept knowledge safe for future generations. It was truly a gift to the whole world. Chapter 6: The End of an Era and Their Legacy. The Phoenicians were great sailors and traders. They were truly the masters of the sea for many hundreds of years. They built a strong and big trade network that connected much of the ancient world. But like all old stories, their time as the main power on the seas slowly came to an end. Other big and strong empires started to grow around the Mediterranean Sea. Groups like the Greeks, with their own strong navies, many warships, and new cities, and later the very powerful Romans, with their very big empire, became much stronger. They wanted to control all the sea trade for themselves. These new, strong empires slowly took over the areas where the Phoenicians lived and traded. The powerful Phoenician cities like Tyre and Sidon were sometimes attacked, surrounded by armies, or finally taken by these bigger, conquering empires. Slowly, the Phoenicians lost their freedom and their control over the important sea trade routes. They became part of these larger kingdoms and empires. They lost their place as independent city-states. They were no longer the main leaders in sea business. But even though the Phoenicians were no longer the main power on the seas, their important work did not disappear. Their good influence lived on in many big ways. It shaped the world that came after them. They left behind a great and lasting legacy, something good and important they left for the future generations to use. What was their great legacy that still affects us today? Masters of trade and sailing. The Phoenicians taught the world many new and important things about sea trade. They showed how to build strong, good ships that could travel long distances safely. They showed how to sail far on the open sea, using the stars and winds. They also showed how to set up wide networks of trade routes. Many later sailors, explorers, and traders learned from their skills and knowledge. They proved that connecting different lands through buying and selling could make people rich. It also brought new things and ideas to everyone. They built the first steps for world trade. Connecting the world. They were truly like the first bridges. These bridges helped different parts of the ancient world meet and talk to each other. They bravely carried valuable goods. But they also carried important ideas, interesting stories, and unique ways of life from one place to another. Without their constant trips, it would have been much harder for old groups like mighty Egypt, wise Greece, and growing Rome to know about each other. It would have been harder to share knowledge and trade valuable things. They helped people share culture and grow their money across the region. They linked places that were far apart. The alphabet. This was truly their biggest and most everlasting gift to all people everywhere. Their simple, easy alphabet made it easy for many people to write and read. It was not just for a few smart people anymore. It spread quickly from their lands to Greece, then to Rome. And then it became the basic letters for the English alphabet we use every single day. Think about it. Every time you read a book, write a message on your phone, or type on a computer in English, You are using an idea that started with the clever Phoenicians thousands of years ago. It really changed how humans talked, wrote information, and kept knowledge safe for future generations. It was a wonderful gift to the whole world. So, the story of the Phoenicians is a wonderful and inspiring example. It shows how a small group of people, living on a narrow strip of land by the sea, could use their smart minds, their building skills, and their brave hearts to change the whole world. They sailed far, they traded unique goods, and, most importantly, they gave us a way to write that changed learning and talking forever. They are truly the masters of the ancient seas, whose great work still touches our lives and the way we learn and connect today.